Katarina has X-rated stories? Well, I like this. Keep her. No, you don't. Why? You keep saying that. You keep saying that like it's not my place. Tell me when we're live, Ivana. Again, you keep saying, well, you think it has to be PG-13. Welcome to Clement's Place, y'all. Oh my God. Am I in the right place? Welcome to Clement's Place, y'all. Uno mas. Welcome to Clement's Place, y'all. So, I never do this. I never use the microphone because it can be recorded. First thing, because people in the back can hear me. Usually you can hear me anyway. But this also allows me to be heard by all of the folks who are joining us via live stream. And given my propensity for, shall we say, colorful metaphors, I don't like to have that stuff recorded. And y'all gave some tepid applause, T-E-P-I-D, tepid applause. Can we do it one more time? Because this is Newark. Welcome to Clement's Place, y'all. Okay. Now, I am doing this, and I think, Ivana, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the only time I've actually said this so people out there can hear me. And I'm going to be short, folks, which is not easy for me. I'm doing this because this is an incredibly special occasion. And we have a bunch of folks in here. I won't give you the whole spiel about Clement's Place and how it's named after Clement Alexander Price, great historian, distinguished professor of history here at Rutgers Newark, the Newark City historian. It was his idea that this space, which was going to be a convenience store, and I always make a joke about unnamed meat under a heat lamp and how much I like such things. But it was Clem who went to the chancellor and said, this is not what we need. We need a gathering place, a place where the students, faculty, and staff and the community can come together and hear great music and engage in great conversation. Clem loved all kinds of music, but he loved great jazz. He loved great jazz. So I'm not going to go into a whole thing about that. I'm not going to go into a whole thing and tell you that when the lights come up, you can see all of everything on the walls are from his home. His widow was quite generous with us. Those are some of his awards on the back. That's an original piece of artwork by Adrian Wheeler, a local artist. That is a banister, an original banister from Haynes Department Store just a few blocks away. There's etched glass behind that with a beautiful message. This is artwork from his home. If you happen to go to the bathroom, the walls are lined with album covers from his collection. So Clem was a beautiful, beautiful cat, and we hope that his spirit, which was just so open and inviting, is somehow reflected in what we do in this very special space. I'm also here because I want to tell you that everything at Clement's Place, as long as we can manage it, is free, which you can clap for that. Free and open to the public because the chancellor, who raised a bunch of money to subsidize this, really wanted folks. She didn't want that to be a barrier, and I've raised some money to help support that. But you got to remember that free doesn't mean free. Free just means you didn't pay for it. Somebody else. So if you are so moved, we accept donations of any size, and this is not what one should say when you're trying to raise money. If you can't send us money, send us love. We accept that, and we need and want that too, because it's really, it's a lot of work. Our technical crew, Yarborough Entertainment, they're fabulous. Tonight, Donald's behind the bar. Don't pay him a dime, so you can tip him. But we really enjoy this because it's not just an add-on to our lives. These artists help us make sense out of what we're going through, whether it's good or bad. These artists help us understand what it's like, what it means to be human in the context of other humans, some of whom we like and some of whom we don't like. These artists help us get through life. Art Blakey used to say that music wipes away the dust of everyday life. And it's that. So this is not add-on, this is not charity. When you support these cats, this is very important to all of us. I'm not going to go into a whole spiel about all of that. I'm just going to stand up here and tell you what an honor, a deep honor it is to have one of the giants of this music, of this instrument. Oh, look, there's a piano there. I don't know what one would do with the piano on stage, but this is supposed to be a conversation, and it will be, between one of the masters that walks among us, and we are lucky to have this gentleman here. He is a musician of incredible reputation, but he is also a deep and profound human being, a walking history book. And that is as important as what comes out of his fingers. But we hope maybe we can talk him into playing one or maybe two songs for us tonight. He's in conversation with his dear friend, another musician who's graced this small but special stage, Mr. TK Blue. And so let me stop talking and welcome to the stage Monty Alexander and TK Blue.
I think we are all truly honored and blessed and fortunate to have this gentleman here today. I'm very, very fortunate because my memory of the great Monty Alexander goes back to my college days when I was going to NYU in the 1970s. I was a student at Jazzmobile in Harlem. And one Saturday afternoon, they said, we have a special presentation. Everybody go to the auditorium, and in the auditorium on stage was the Milt Jackson Band, the great Milt Jackson, and on piano was this gentleman. That's when I first heard him live, and I knew right away, I mean, he's just a gift for humanity. We share something in common because we both have Jamaican roots. He's born in Jamaica. My father's from Jamaica. My father's from Montego Bay. And so I'm just very excited and happy to be here to speak with Monty about his life. We want to talk a little bit, Monty, first about your very beginnings. I was reading that your mom was a singer. She sang. And how did you gravitate towards the piano as opposed to the guitar or the bass or the drums?
Well, I want to say it's so wonderful to be here with you folks, and thank you for your welcome and to be able to remember some of these unforgettable things that happened for me. Yes, I was born June the 6th, 1944, D-Day, the same day as when the Allies landed in Normandy. And at the age of 3, thereabouts, because my mother had gotten a hold of one of these old grand upright pianos, because she'd sing in church, but she wanted to play the piano. I don't know much about her desire with the piano, but it was just sitting there in the living room, you know, and I started going as a kid, pounding and banging and just drawing attention to myself, you know. And I loved making some kind of sound, and I'd start playing sounds that reminded me of nature, you know. I'd play the bird in the tree, up on the top, and I'd play thunder and lightning in the bass. And I'd try to scare myself with the low, you know. And I played a little melody, the little nursery rhyme, so I could, my ear. So not long after that, I started playing rhythm. Because in Jamaica, you hear in the calypso music, the island rhythms. And I started playing, and I noticed that friends of my mother and father would come by, and they say, Monty, play the piano. So I'd sit at the piano, and I started entertaining people. I guess, you know, tapped in their feet, and I'm rocking, you know. And I love to dig up that rhythm from the very beginning. And not long after that, my mother, who was thinking about, well, he should go to the piano teacher. And I was already having a lot of fun with the music. Piano was my favorite toy, really, to this day. She's a lady, nice lady. And I'd be playing all the time, you know, making up music, having fun. I was going to tell you something. But as I was going along, they wanted me to go take piano lessons. Well, that lady, well, a couple of different ladies tried to teach me, but from the very, very beginning, I thoroughly disliked that. I didn't want to be taught piano playing because I already was there. You know, I knew I was having my own personal good time. And went along after that, you know, that other lady at another place, she started hitting me on my knuckles with the ruler. Bang! You hold your hand and all that. I didn't care for that, folks. So I just, from that day, I was, called me a rebel. I just was my own piano person. and I would just go play, and I'd see other musicians playing, and I was fascinated, whether they were playing a clarinet or a banjo, it didn't matter. Music became, wow, what a wonderful thing to do, to make music and bring a smile when you're doing it, you know? Wow, this is amazing. So I just kept playing for fun, not to have a career or a future. Look here, you asked me a simple question. I'm going on forever.
No, it's good, man. We're just listening to this history. I know in 1961 you moved to Florida.
Yeah.
Now, what was that about? How did that
Well,
evolve?
my mother was a strong personality in many ways, and she, for whatever reason, I never really, tried to dig out the real reason, but she had her reason for leaving, some vibes that she wasn't grooving on, but she met some people in Miami that really liked her when they, and invited her to stay at this one guy had a hotel on Miami Beach. Mm-hmm. And he said, come up, and I remember going up to Miami Beach, Florida. What another world with these fabulous hotels and another way, you smell the copper tone. I could smell it. If I smell copper tone, I start thinking about me being in Miami Beach, and they had the Miss World, Miss Universe contest at this hotel, and beautiful young ladies going. I said, man, this place is, I love Jamaica, but give me that America. So when she said, we're going to go to Miami, I said, yeah, okay, because I would go to the movies a lot, and I would see America. I love to see go to the movie when I would see from the cowboy movies. I love the westerns, And when I saw Superman fly out the window, I want to go where the guy fly out the window. I mean it, and I saw these, what would be a video now, but they had them, I forgot what you call them, but you saw Duke Ellington and short clip, Sugar Child Robinson playing Boogie Woogie. I saw all these great artists, and I hear the music from the movies, and I would get inspired to go and imagine I was playing all this music, like Rachmaninoff and all this music, and I imagine. So I started dreaming about this stuff from I was very young. But Miami was another place. We got there, my mother got away for her own reasons. My brother and I, brother is down in Florida now, and we got there, and I had no idea what was going to happen next. My mother found an apartment, and I remember I just started roaming the street, going from here to there. I hear musicians playing, and I met the musicians, and I'd be friendly. I was always friendly with these older guys. I said, what's your name, man? And so and so. Where you from, man? And, hey, what do you do? I said, I play the piano a little bit. And I must have said, can I come play? And I went there to a couple of places, and I'm sitting there playing the piano. The guys play blues, a lot of blues. I knew what to do with that, We started playing, started rocking, And the guys said, come on back and play again with us. And one night, a booking agent saw me playing. I'm just 18 at the time. And he said, I can get you jobs in Miami Beach and Miami. I said, okay. Went to my mother. I said, this guy want to give me a job. And next thing you know, I'm playing all over Miami, Florida, Miami Beach. And these places, this is 1962, where all of these places were operated by people that were, lack of a better name, gangsters. I'm playing for them gangsters, yes, and people that lived that tough life. And that's right. So, Miami, Florida. But I noticed something. Jamaica has its own issue when it comes to racial stuff. Well, mixed up folks, And I noticed this, America and Miami Beach, what's that? And I was shaking when I saw this thing, because Miami was very, very, before civil rights, very messed up with that. Just the deep south, we want. And I saw the colored, the water fountains, say colored, white, what's that, I found myself saying, this is different. We don't have this in Jamaica. It's a different version, right? So I started going over to what's called Liberty City, Overtown. That's where they had the Sir John nightclub, the Harlem Square Club. I'm about 18, I saw the Basie Band. Benny Powell was playing trombone, our friend.
Benny Powell.
Al Gray, who's still my birthday, June the 6th, you know, me and Al. Yeah. And I saw Sonny Payne playing Old Man River like this. Play a drum solo, threw up the sticks in the air, lit a cigarette. Before the sticks came down, he lit the cigarette and proceeded with the drum solo. You never saw it because those drummers, those guys, a lot of them were a big part of the entertainment. Them guys put on a show, you know, Sonny Payne, Buddy Rich, you know, all these guys. So I'm seeing this music, you know, and now that I go up to these guys and they're all kind to me. Beautiful, you know, one thing I learned, respect my elders. Now, I'm just kid in the candy store. I saw Sam Cooke. I saw, in Jamaica, I saw some of these men, R&B guys. I saw Brooke Benton, Jackie Wilson. I heard the rhythm, man. I heard, you know, Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. So for me, music, it's all kind of music. It's not jazz. I like all of it. Calypso Mentor, the old-time guys play the calypso. When you heard Harry Belafonte sing, he was doing a diluted version of some of those kind of songs. Them guys like to drink the white rum and go play. So anyhow, ask me another question.
Okay. Well, you know, the author T.J. English, he's a New York Times best-selling writer, and he has a book out called Dangerous Rhythms, Jazz on the Underworld. Monty mentioned something earlier about playing in places that were frequented by gangsters, and he happened to have had an affiliation at a very young age, playing at a place called Jilly's. And that's where he met the great Frank Sinatra. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. And by the way, he was quite young, what, 17 or 18 at the time?
Yeah, well, those adventures, when I think about them, I said, how would that happen? Because I wasn't pursuing these people or those things. It's just like the Creator just shine a light on me and say, all right, go there, go here, go there. And I was playing in one of these bars, and there was a man, I was playing, I like to mention it because people go, oh yeah, you knew him? Yes, I knew him. I was working at the same place as Lenny Bruce, the comedian. Yeah. And he was definitely a guy messing around with substance, you know? I saw that, you know, and he saw me at the bus stop a couple of nights and he'd give me a ride to this club. And I ride with Lenny, you know, the guy had on his pants and a raincoat. I said, what's that? He didn't have a shirt underneath and he was sweating profusely. So he must have been doing the heroin, you know, seriously. And he was at this club, Le Bistro it was called. He was there for 2 weeks. And he loved jazz. He hung out with Philly Joe Jones. Them guys sang on a record doing Dracula. I want your blood. Give me your blood. Lenny Bruce and Philly Joe, there's a record where they play blues.
Blues for Count Dracula.
There you go. So after Lenny Bruce's gig there, here comes a man to entertain, I think his name was Duke Hazlitt. And his whole presentation was to imitate and mimic Frank Sinatra, who was, like he continued to be for the rest of his life, the so-called greatest entertainer in American music, and he certainly, they call him the chairman of the board. Anyhow, he comes in to the Bristol to see this guy who is imitating him. And I think the guy got nervous. And I'm playing in the other room, there are 2 rooms. The room I'm playing is like the bar, and when I go play, I go hit it. You got to rock the joint. You got to swing. You got none of that, you know, tiptoe through the tulips. You got to come with the groove, you know. And I guess I was doing that, the trio. And a lady came into that room and she saw me. And when I got off the piano, the bandstand, she says, "Hey kid," like I'm just turning 18. And he said, "Come here. Where'd you learn?" I said, "Well." So I want you to come over to the table. So I went to the table and I met Sinatra and his friend Jilly. He was at a place called the Fontainebleau Hotel, which was like, it was like almost Las Vegas without the gambling, you know? So Sinatra and Jilly said, "We ought to get you to come to Jilly's. Jilly's was a club on 52nd Street. This was 10 years after the great era of Charlie Parker and all the great Art Tatum playing on 52nd Street with Dizzy Gillespie, all the greats. This was 56, like 63. And just before that, I had a job because a band leader, old-time kind of jazz dance band called Art Mooney. Art Mooney asked me to play in his band, feature me, because I must have been, I don't know, doing it good, doing it well. And I went to Reno, Nevada for 6 weeks. The job ended, and then I didn't know what to do. And I called my mother, she said, come on, you better come on. There's a lot of bad people out there and all that. I said, no, I like it. I was loving this experience. I'm in Reno, Nevada. And then the trombone player in the band, I forgot his name. We drove back down to Vegas, and I got a job at this is 63. This is before Howard Hughes came to Las Vegas. And I'm playing at a place called the Thunderbird. This is where all the gamblers at the other hotels, the shills, the people that work roulette and 21 and all that, they go hang out there. And I got this job to play behind a singer. And while I'm playing there, and we get off at 5 in the morning, man. This is late night stuff. When I get off, okay. One night, in walk Sinatra again, Jillian Frank. And they say, hey, there's that kid again. Well, lightning struck twice. And next thing you know, those men sent me an airline ticket to come play at Jilly's. And not long after that, the plane landed in LaGuardia, I guess, I think. And the next night, I'm playing at Jilly's. And they had a bass player and a drummer to come play with me. Peck Morrison was the bass player. And a drummer named Ray Mosca. And that was being New York. Man, I'm in New York, you know, when Stevie Wonder said, just like I pictured it.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Wow.
By the way, I just want to say, none of that, and I say it cautiously because I hate to sound like me, I'm bragging, but honest to goodness, folks, God shined a light on me. And I'm grateful. When I play the piano, I'm grateful to Him, God, for giving me this blessing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wow, that's just, it's just profound when I think about, you know, Monty handed me a sheet earlier when he got here of just people that he knows intimately, not in passing, but personally, people that he's played with, shared the bandstand, recorded with, and it's like, I mean, for us to go over every name, we'd be here until next week. He's played with so many people, but I would like, Monty, I'd like you to stretch out a little bit on two gentlemen that were really instrumental in your career, and that's Milt Jackson and Ray Brown, the bassist, because you spent some time with those gentlemen. I first heard you with Milt Jackson. What was that like, just playing with Milt Jackson and Ray Brown? Whew, that's royalty, man.
Well, that's the top of the mountain. I was with these men that invited me into their royal chamber, simply put. And it all comes from personal moments when it was Mickey Roker was playing with me, with his good friend. Those two men almost raised me, helped me stay out of trouble. Trouble is everywhere, you know? And it was Mickey Roker and Bob Cranshaw. So Bob and Mickey, they're playing with me, and he said, hey, don't watch them people over there. That's trouble, you know? Bob was always looking at her. Well, Mickey already had a beautiful friendship and worked with Milt, and so did Bob. And he must have told Milt, hey, man, you should come by Jilly's one night. Because, by the way, it's a very Italian-American place, and very rare would you see African-American people in there. And I'm saying once in a while, Basie would come in because he and Sinatra loved Count Basie. Or you'd see Eddie Lockjaw Davis come to the bar drinking a white Cadillac. That's whiskey with milk.
What's that again? What's that called?
They call it White Cadillac.
White Cadillac.
And Jaws used to say, he used to call me my son, you know. So there was basically, you would see about a few other odd characters, but Sinatra was the most really, let's call it, a big helper to helping people never to have the prejudice. I think about it because he was the biggest star in Las Vegas. He and Harry Belafonte, who I knew very well. And he made a big point to let those hotel owners know that Nat Cole will not go in the kitchen. He got to come in the front door. Otherwise, he will not go on stage that night. Sinatra did that. He will tell them, don't empty the swimming pool because a prejudiced person said, you got to empty the pool because Lena Horne swam in the pool. Right. So there was that type of thing. And Frank was always sticking his neck out for all the people, you know. And anyhow, Gilles was where I met Milt. Milt came in one night. You know, he sat at the bar, and we just clicked, you know, Mickey Rourke, they laughing, telling jokes. And the next thing you know, Ray came to town to do a recording. First of all, Ray looked just like my mother's brother. So I saw him on the picture. He was a handsome man and with a big smile. I said, I want to meet that guy. And when I heard the records with him playing, whether it was Oscar Peterson or the Jazz at the Philharmonic, you heard that bass note. It was like a whole band in itself. Boom! He hit that note. The wall shake. He wasn't just pitter-patter stuff. He's rocking, man. Ray Brown was a master with the power of the rhythm, you know? But he had a very warm, giving, friendly personality. And I met him. He came in to New York to be with Quincy Jones when Quincy did a recording where they played Killer Joe at Rudy Van Gelder's. And I went there that day. I'm hanging out with him, and I'm taking Ray around New York. So I go by, you know, like a kid, say, hey, can I hang out with you or something like that? And he said, what's going on in town? I said, well, Coleman Hawkins is down at the Half Note. He said, yeah, let's go down and see Bean. I want to go see Bean. So we got in the cab, went down to the Half Note, and Major Holly is playing the bass, Eddie Locke is playing drums, I think Roland Hanna was playing the piano, and Coleman Hawkins, right? Them guys hugging up, hey, where you been? And I'm standing there just loving it. So we finished, he said, what else is going on in town? I says, well, uptown there's a place called Dax, D-A-X. The same guy who started Mikkel's, 2 blocks away. Remember Mikkel's? And Dax, up there, the 2 guys playing is Sam Jones and Wynton Kelly. I said, Wynton and Sam are up there. He said, let's go. So we went up to Dax, and there is Sam. Sam had a pipe looked like Sherlock Holmes, smoking the pipe. And Wynton at the bar, buying the whole place a drink. Wynton was this warm, beautiful, so was Sam, but Sam conservative with his money, you know? And Wynton, people come from Jamaica. So me and Wynton clicked real nice. You know, when Mr. Ellis Marsalis named his son Wynton, he was such a big fan of Wynton Kelly, he called his son Wynton. So that's where he got his name from, because Ellis he knew because Wynton started playing, and right away the thing is popping. The way you play the piano, that can make all the difference. If you play the piano in a certain way, the rhythm gonna go a certain way. If a guy just kind of plods along, he's playing great, but it's plodding. It's like, whoa, you know? I can't explain it. But anyhow, so Wynton and Herb and Sam and same old thing, they're hugging up, hey guys. So that was the second time I met Ray. Wow. And then I happened to go to LA because I had a gig in New York at the Playboy Club, the notorious Playboy Club. But let me tell you, folks, that was a nice gig. And I was playing there, Kai Winding, the trombonist, he and J.J. Johnson had a quintet together. K and J, they call it. And he came in Gilles one night. Once again, I must have been whipping it up pretty good. He says, I want you to come to the Playboy Club. They don't have a cabaret license, which means they can't have drums or singers or trumpets, but they can have stringed instruments, the piano, the guitar, the bass. So I went to play at the Playboy Club, and that was with a wonderful guitar player, Les Spann, who was from Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he had been with Quincy in Europe. And
He also played flute too, right?
wonderful flautist. And the bass player was it was in between, who was calling himself George Joyner, who became Jamil Nasser. So me and them two Tennessee guys, we swinging. And one night I remember Quincy Jones came in after he had just had a bad time in Europe with his efforts to have a big band. And that's before he started making the pop records with, you know.
Wow, that's incredible history. He just mentioned the Jazz Shrine, Mikkel's. Yeah, give Monty a big hand, please. Incredible history. Mikkel's, I don't know if anybody here had the opportunity to go there. Up on 97th Street, I believe, in Columbus.
Right.
And I remember going to Mikkel's in 1981. It was the fall of 81. I was just getting ready to move to Paris, and I said, I got to go to Mikkel's tonight because Monty Alexander is playing there. And I'm sitting there absorbed by the music of this gentleman, and I look to my left, there's Miles Davis. Miles happened to walk in, and he sat right next to me. He had with him the saxophonist, Bill Evans, and Miles turned to me and started talking. Yeah, man, I had to punch that cat out. And you know what he said to me? And I didn't know what he was talking about, but it was, look, it's Miles Davis. But Miles was there to hear Monty Alexander. Monty, maybe you can expand a little bit about Miles.
Well,
and your relationship with him.
It's really because that Gillies, and I got to know Mr. Miles quite well. And he was still, we'd say, swinging. If you know about his history, and I got to be around him quite a bit. He comes in the club, and I'm with a couple of ladies and another friend. And this is the days when he was still wearing Italian suit and sharp. Man, he was that boy, that cat was. He had a way about him that was like, you know, he should have been in Gentleman's Quarterly. You know, he was so dap, you know. He had that charisma, not only the way he acted, the way he played, you know, and that attitude, like, you know, I don't need you, you know. And he comes, he's sitting at the piano bar, and Bob Cranshaw, who's always looking over me, Big Brother style, but me and him had a ball when we played music. And he said, Miles is at the piano bar. I said, okay. And, you know, when you're playing a musician, if you're not careful, you can get self-conscious or nervous. But I wasn't nervous. Miles is there. I'm happy playing whatever I'm playing. And we're playing, swinging kind of little standards. And Mickey Roca, I think, or Al Harewood used to play with me a lot. And we doing what we do. And I got through playing. And he gets up from where he was sitting, and he walks over to me. And he say, pardon the quote, where you learn to play that shit? And me, you know, I'm just, you know, kind of humble, trying to play humble. I said, I don't know, I picked it up somewhere or whatever. You know. He said, oh, come on by the house. And he took the Gillies matchbook, and he wrote his phone number down and said, come on by the house. I want to come by the house. And I didn't, I said, well, okay. And a few weeks later, I said, I'm going to go by this guy's house. I'm going to hang out, go see Miles Davis. And I went there, and I remember coming there, and he had a little entourage. His son was there. I forgot his first name, but later they call him Squeaky. I saw him years later in Chicago. He adopted Islam, and he was dressed very, you know, sharp and everything. But Miles, I spent many an occasion there, but Miles went through the ups and the downs. Now, one thing I want to mention, a guy like me, you're green, you don't know anything, but I had heard the good news. And I heard my mother say, if I ever hear you do those drug things or fool around with that stuff, it was like she said, I'm going to bust you upside your head. My mom. So between the mother and the preacher, when the time I saw somebody whip out that white powder, I already said, not for me. That's not for me. So, and that was the downfall of so many of our heroes with the music. And thankfully, now there's an awareness that some years now, people, the young guys going to the music school, they also have a sense of like, don't fool with this stuff, it'll kill you. And look, Charlie Parker was 34, he looked like 65, you know, when he passed. Well, Miles would go in and out. And during that Mikkel's time, he was out. And he come in there with a bottle of Heineken beer, and he walk in there like, you know, and park the yellow Ferrari on the sidewalk. Because he liked to find things, you know. But this is during that period where and here's the other thing about that man, I never hear people talk about it. He'd get bored. No, people say that's a Gemini quality. I try not to get bored. I'm a Gemini. I don't really believe that stuff too much. But Miles coming to Mikkel's, and I had this band, because I'd try things out, and I was trying to bring my natural heritage as Jamaica or Caribbean something, and I had the swinging kind of combo. Frank Gant was playing drums, Gerald Wiggins was playing bass, and I had Othello, the steel drum, and my friend, the guitar player, Ernest Ranglin, and we're playing. But Ernie, he's still with us. He's in Jamaica. He's 91, beautiful, my big brother kind of guy. But he was touching the stuff a little more than wise, and he hadn't tuned up the guitar properly. It was one of them sets you're playing. Miles come to me at the end of the set, and I sat at the bar and said, "Nice to see you. Thanks for coming." All that. He said, "Hey." I said, "What?" He said, "Your band sound like shit." I said, "I know. You're damn right." And I made up my mind. I said, I'm going to go back and play the next set. I'm going to tell Othello and Ernie, take a break. I feel proud of this. I made that decision. I went there. Because man wasn't God. You know, people were worshiping this man. You know, he didn't exemplify the greatest behavior. Let's be frank. You know. But I started playing trio, and there was a little bandstand at the end of the room. He come sit down right by my foot. He's sitting there the whole time. We swinging, and he's back there, hollering and everything. And I'll never forget it, because he was digging the music, you know, but there was no doubt he was in the throes of being high, you know. And that's during that down period before he met his wife-to-be, Cicely Tyson, who was a West Indian woman, who brought her sense of good health to his life and helped him to come back to be with music. And Miles and Cicely, she even helped him weave the hair to get his hair back. And he started straightening up and flying right.
Wow. Y'all give Monty Alexander a big hand of this, telling us his history. He just mentioned a name that I don't know if most of you or any of you have heard of him. He just mentioned another profound musician that he's had a great relationship with, another Jamaican master, Mr. Ernest Ranglin, and a guitarist. If I'm not mistaken, Randy Weston might have been the first person to bring Ernest to the United States. Was that?
I don't know. I don't
can't
think
remember,
so.
but yeah, maybe not. But I had an opportunity to meet Ernest and to play with him. And Monty did a lot of things with Ernest. They recorded together. Maybe he can tell you a little bit about Ernest Ranglin, because Ernest was a genius, complete genius on the guitar. I've never heard nobody play the guitar on the level of Ernest Ranglin.
Well, in Jamaica, as a kid, as I was saying, I fell in love with music, but musicians. So I'd go to, my father would take me to the various clubs or hotels where the older guys were playing, and they were playing, whether they were playing popular songs, whatever they were playing, I'd be sitting there loving it. And Ernest, no doubt about it, was this incredible guy that when he played the guitar started talking. It's like he's talking through the guitar, not playing it. He's playing way up on the top, down on the bottom. He imitate a truck driving by. He'd do everything, and he'd play fast and all this stuff, you know. Django Reinhardt, Charlie Christian, even Wes Montgomery. He's had that, you know, when Wes would play the double octaves. I'm not lying. Ernie playing triple. You play a wave, you play a melody, you play in the triple, and you just do all these one, and I'm seeing it, said, and the same feeling I got when I heard my hero, Mr. Jamal, who just left us. My dear friend, and I say it with such gratitude that I knew him very well, Mr. Ahmad Jamal. We had an incredible goodbye memorial that his wonderful, loving daughter, Samaya, gathered everybody and had a wonderful memorial for her father on Saturday afternoon. But those two men, to me, said, you can play anything in music. You're not limited to this or that. But it got to be swinging. Don't play that stuff if it doesn't have something, like a certain Mr. Duke Ellington said, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. And when I started playing, that's the first thing I'm looking for, is the swinging thing. And that's how I started getting these jobs, because I go places not to put on a concert, but to get the feeling going, you know? And by the way, I want to say I'm in Newark, which means a lot to me, because it was in Newark that I started playing at some of these clubs in the 60s. There was a place called the Key Club. I'll drift off from Ernie. I'll come back to Ernie.
That's good. No, go ahead, man.
Folks, I can talk. My mouth start running. You got a problem.
It's historic, man.
Well,
it's
all right. So I'm playing. I had a dear, dear friend. These guys were my friends. They're not some musician. I mean, great play music. No, we're just beautiful hanging out together. And one of my sweetest friends of my life was Earl May, the bass player. He had a smile, lit up the room, played left-handed. Earl May, he got the bass like that. He didn't change the tuning on the bass, but he was swinging. So me and Earl, and a drummer named Bruno Carr, and Bruno had played with Bray Charles. We're playing at the Key Club, and the man that owned it was Walter and his wife, Jean Dawkins. I'll never forget. And you walked in that little bar, I can't remember the street, it was the Key Club. And you walk in there, they had an eel in a fish tank, the eel, the electric eel, you know? And people sitting around the bar. The piano is up in the middle of the bar. It wasn't a great piano, it was like a Wurlitzer, small upright. And I'd be in there playing. I was there on several occasions. The other club of note was the front room. Man, it's so great to hear you all nod your heads. And the guy who owned it was a Latino brother. His name was Carlos somebody, I think. And they'd have Shirley Scott and Stanley Turrentine, or various other groups that come in, and people come there to enjoy the music, the feeling. Nobody come there to analyze jazz music. The music was alive. It's like, you know. So I'm playing at the Key Club. One night, I remember there was a song that had just been released, a movie. It was that movie called Alfie. And I loved that song. It was a song by Burt Bacharach. The song goes, what's it all about, Alfie, right? So, man, I loved Alfie. I started playing Alfie. You play a chorus, Alfie. Let me go again. Bap, another chorus. Bap, change the key. I'm playing Alfie, a whole lot. Bartender said, hey, Monty, I'm going to take the mic. Somebody he took the mic, it was on a stand. Anyhow, sitting around the bar, everybody sitting there drinking, having fun. A lot of people drinking a white Cadillac. and there was one woman sitting there, and she looked like she just came out of bed in the house coat, and she had them big curlers in her hair. Not the little curler, but the big one with the hair net. I said, what is that, you know? And usually makeup, but no, she have no makeup or anything. Who's that? Anyhow, the guy took the microphone, I'm playing Alfie. I'm playing Alfie. I'm loving it. And all of a sudden, when the chorus started again, I hear somebody say, what's it all about, Alfie? It was Sarah Vaughan. I'm telling you, Sassy was in the club, man. She used to come there and hang out with her friends because she's from East Orange, I think. Dionne Warwick, Sass, right? Newark. Thank you. But that Key Club with people hanging out, just having a ball, you know, drinking and talking and, you know. But I was there, and that night I got up the bandstand and he said, come here. I said, give me a number. Like maybe she needed a piano player, you know. But you see, folks, I don't read music. I never went to music school. I say this tentatively because it sounds like something to brag about. No, I'm ashamed because if I'd have been more serious and went to school and learned, then I would have probably this. But I didn't care. I was just having a completely fulfilling time. And if I had to read music and get all nervous that I'm going to make a mistake, I was irresponsible to the point. So when Sassy says to me, maybe, I was grateful that I never heard from her. Let's put it that way. And I'll tell you, I also got invited by Norman Granz to work with Ella Fitzgerald. And I did the same thing. I ran. Because how am I going to play for this great song lady and play the wrong note behind her? I couldn't do that. And I said, Norman, I can call you back. I'll let you know in a few days. And I called back Norman Granz, who was her manager, who made sure that Ella would be the queen as she rightfully should have been, making those recordings, singing Gershwin and Cole Porter, all that, right? And I called him back. I said, no, because if you put music paper in front of me, I start sweating, So that was my Key Club story.
Wow. Man, listen, Monty, you don't have to read music. You are music. You are music. You have become music. You're on the ultimate level. I think as a musician, everybody wants to get to that level ultimately where you can just play. You don't have to worry about reading. Just play, and play from your heart and from your spirit. And this gentleman here does it all. He mentioned Ahmed Jamal. And one day I asked Monty, because if any of you have seen him perform, you'll notice that when you look at the bandstand here, for example, you see the piano. Normal setup would be the bass would be right here, and the drummer would be over here. But when you see this brother play, he's got the bass player over there by his left hand, and the drummer is over there. So he can hear better, and that's the setup that I noticed Ahmed Jamal. So I asked Monty about that, and he said that, in fact, Ahmed Jamal got that idea from him.
That's what he said to me.
That's incredible.
He said, I got that from you. The other thing that I noticed he did, I had Othello playing the steel drum with me. And after that period with Othello, he was a wonderful player. He was playing bebop. He come in, he saw Bill Jackson, and he wanted to play like that. He wanted to hear the steel drum. So Ahmed had Othello join him.
Wow.
So there were a lot of wonderful little connections with that man. But I just say that he was truly, for me, the most connect. Because when I was 14 years old in Jamaica, and I had said a prayer that music would come more deep and meaningful to me. Meaningful. And the prayer was answered one day when the radio played. It was 14, it was 1958. I heard Ponciano on the radio. And that moment made me want to play music. Because he painted a picture. I heard everything that made me think of African rhythm, but sophisticated harmonies and restraint. And all through his life, whenever Ahmed put his hands on the keyboard, I felt the spirit. So he was a magician. He wasn't a musician. He was a magician. He was a mystery. He connected to that great spirit. And I so loved that I was inspired. I mean, my other heroes, I saw Louis Armstrong in Jamaica. That was #1 hero when I saw Satchmo. But then Duke Ellington. So these are my heroes. But man, I love all the music. Ray Charles, to me, the whole pattern of the great musicians, especially the African Americans, When I heard Ray, and I heard all the blues, and I heard Ahmed, and I heard Gene Ammons, and I heard, name it, That's, and in terms of I love, every time I hear piano being played, wow. But when Ahmed played, it was there. It was another level. And we talk about the maestro, Duke Ellington. Those two men were the kings on the mountain.
It's very, very incredible that he mentioned two of the greatest piano players ever in jazz, Ahmed Jamal and Duke Ellington. Another gentleman that shares the same influence is Dr. Randy Weston,
Absolutely.
who Monty knew quite well, in fact, performed with. Now, I was with Randy for 38 years. I was really, most of my life, I was really blessed to be in his band that long. And Randy always spoke so highly of Monty. In fact, to my knowledge, Randy had only played with another piano player on 3 occasions. One was Abdullah Ibrahim from South Africa. Another one was Rodney Kendrick, who's married to Diana Ross's daughter. And the third one is Monty Alexander. They actually toured with 2 pianos, 2 percussion. Tell us a little bit about that connection with Randy, because Randy loved you so much.
You know, I can't understand why. All I know is this tall, big guy with that beautiful smile. When he sat at the piano, he started right away telling the story. And I would hear music that made me think of his incredible love and pride for the heritage of what he experienced as a man of African heritage. When he started playing, I heard, to me, when he played those bass notes and all these beautiful pieces, Moses, what the one there? Blue Moses. And so many others. And those dirge, like a dirge, and he played it, man. Well, okay, so he brought a conga drummer, not a conga drummer, a hand drummer from Ghana.
Eric Asante.
Eric Asante. And he had those beads in his hair, in his not dreadlocks, but, you know, here. And when he played, he would shake the hair, you know, you hear with the hair, you know. And I had my good friend who played with me back in the 70s, who ended up playing with Weather Report, Bobby Thomas. We're still talking every so often. He's a wonderful, incredible hand drummer. So there's me and Bobby and Randy and Eric. And he would play, I would play, and then we played together. And we had about 6 concerts. Montreux, we played in Spain, Barcelona, blah, blah, wherever. And it's recorded in Montreux. But the thing I remember is them 2 guys was high as a Georgia pine. One time we played in Zurich, and Randy, he's supposed to play 20 minutes, and I would go play 20 minutes. The promoter guy come to me and say, he's been playing for 45 minutes. Is it all right that I tell the story?
It's good. It's
okay.
all good, man.
And I ran up there playing one of those pieces, man, enthralling, but the promoter change the program. and Eric and him, and me and Bobby, we whipped it up beautifully. It was a memorable time. Jack Muyal was on the scene.
Oh, yeah.
And I spent a lot of great time with Randy, and I just was an honor to be with him. And the thing about Randy, he had a heritage of both Panama and Jamaica.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Family. And he started introducing to Jamaican, the musicians wanted to grow. He convinced them to bring Melba Liston. So Melba started teaching those younger guys at the School of Music. Mm-hmm. And Randy had occasion to have an interaction with Count Ozzy. And Count Ozzy was the Rastafarian, because I did music with a lot of those guys, you know, before Bob Marley came, you know. And the Naya Bingi rhythm, and Randy heard it and felt it. And he played with Count Ozzy, as I did. I recorded with Count Ozzy.
Wow.
So you hear the real Rastafarian Naya Bingi rhythm.
Right.
And those people were praising Jah, worship and praise. And the spirit is in the music. It's not no school music, which is not to be disrespected, because that's very important. But these people are coming from history and their heritage, you know. So being with Randy was like being with the real deal. Yeah.
It's incredible. Please, brother Monty Alexander, man.
TK Blue. Give it up for TK Blue.
No. I'm just picking his brain because he has so much knowledge and history. Another tidbit that probably many of you don't know, I'm sure you've all heard of the great recording that won the Grammy that year, Unforgettable by Natalie Cole. Well, do you know this gentleman played with Natalie Cole? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that experience, because I had no idea that he was on that record, Unforgettable.
Thank you so much. You know, every time you ask me a question, I got to make sure I don't go on too long.
No, it's okay.
Well, okay. When I was a kid, thankfully, the two artists that were in my home, my mother and father had, along with some easy listening and semi-classical, you hear those nice music. Among them, they had a record of Louis Armstrong, Ambassador Satch. And Satchmo came to Jamaica, and I went and I saw him in concert, and my father gave me the trumpet. I'm going to try to play the trumpet. Couldn't play the trumpet, but the guys at school corralled me and made me the mascot at the football game with the trumpet. And I go, because anybody, you can do that. You don't have to have the valve, you know. So, couldn't play it. My other hero, number one hero, I had two number one heroes, was Nat King Cole. So the Nat records, I hearing all those songs, all these myriads of beautiful ballads that man would give us to the world. I mean, if I started thinking about those beautiful tunes Nat gave us, you know, Nature Boy, there was a boy, right? You know, unforgettable, that's what you is. So I knew all that Nat stuff and the little trio. They came to Jamaica 6 months after Satchmo, who I shook his hand. My father knew the promoter. And I saw my mother loved Nat Cole. All the ladies loved that voice. That voice made, in fact, he was a big influence for Marvin Gaye, for Sam Cooke. They all wished they were Nat Cole. When Nat started singing, it was just like caramel, butterscotch, that voice, you know. But the piano playing, when he started playing the piano, he swinging, but he was light, and his fingers were a little fast. And all these masterful pianists, among them, Oscar Peterson, Mr. Ahmad Jamal. Nat was one of their great heroes. Mino, the little guy from Jamaica. I pick up that stuff, and I knew so many. I mean, Straighten Up and Fly Right. I knew all the songs, the intros, the thing. I just heard it. So Natalie Cole had been having a beginnings in the music business where she was singing like rhythm and blues. She had a little song called This Will Be. Here, the R&B. Richard Evans, my friend, he wrote the charts. But she's like right there in what Aretha would be doing, those kinds of songs. But somebody at the record come and say, you know, Natalie, you really should do a tribute to your father, Nat King Cole. And, you know, she was having a struggle, you know, in some way. But she said, I will, I'll make a record. Now, they needed a piano player. And she remembered that when she had done a concert at Avery Fisher Hall, Johnny Mathis was on the bill, and he was a big fan of Nat King Cole, and he did Nat King Cole songs. And the piano player that night for Johnny Mathis was Tommy Flanagan. So Tommy is playing for Natalie, and when they're getting ready to do the record, Tommy LiPuma was the producer, right? Who had made all those records with George Benson. They called Tommy Flanagan. Tommy, we got a recording date, and if we want to know if you can play piano with Natalie, blah, blah. And so Tommy said, no, I can't make it. I have a sort of concert booking. And he said, but who can I get? Tommy said, get Monty Alexander, me. So I'm minding my own business, and I get a phone call from Tommy LiPuma. He says, can you come? First of all, when he said it, I was overjoyed because I always wanted to get to know Nat. Now, I knew Freddie well, his brother, younger brother, right? Freddie was my great friend. And I always wish I'd been around in those days, but no, hey, Natalie. So, indeed, I went out to California, and it was during the Gulf War. beginning of 1990 something, I don't know. And I went to her house, and I met Natalie, with a lovely lady, my gosh. And we went through about, I don't know, 20 songs. We just friendly, you know? And I'm playing the introduction, so I brought her back to her father's vibe, you know? Because she was rhythm and blues at the time. She also had some trouble with substance, and she came out, thankfully came out of, she became a born-again Christian, especially the same church where Smokey Robinson was going in L.A. So she had a renewal of spirit, you know? And she wanted to do her father's music justice, so she sang several of those songs. And when it got to the Unforgettable, they did this great, what you call superimposed, where she's singing to her father. Right. And it was an original, you know, when they did them trick videos, you know, she's singing to her dad, you know, wow, what's that? But the thing I want to say is, I don't read music, so I kind of found a way to back out, because I didn't want to mess up things. And I played on about 3 songs on the record. But I was definitely an important part of the whole thing. And not only that, when the record became like 7 million or how many million, she sent me one of them platinum things. Wow. And to this day, I have it on the wall.
Wow,
you know?
That's incredible.
And
by the way, some of you may not know that this gentleman, besides being a master pianist, is also a very prolific vocalist. And his last recording, the latest recording, Love Notes, features him singing.
Well, a lot of us piano players, we think we can sing. No, there's one Nat Cole, only one. But I'll tell you right now, Oscar Peterson made a record, he's singing, but when he was singing, no disrespect, Oscar, but you sounded like Gene Autry. But guess what? You could tell, but he had it pretty good. You know, he's playing piano because the way Nat played. In fact, Oscar came to New York to make a record. It's called With Respect to Nat. I went to the studio, and I was there when they were, you know, making this record. And Oscar is doing, you know, Sweet Lorraine and those great songs, right? And I had me a go myself. And through the years, I would hear back something I did, you know, like I'm in Spain and Jordi had recorded it, and I said, wait a minute, that sounded pretty good. So I got my nerve during the COVID time, or before that. I said, you know what, I don't know what to do, I want to do something. And I decided to make a record where I do singing. So I made this record album called Love Notes. But the thing that happened with the record, I merged it with Jamaican reggae, one drop. So it wasn't like the swinging thing, but I put that other groove on it. So I'm singing, you must remember this, a kiss is, and those kind of songs. But the rhythm is Jamaica. I wanted to bring those influences together because, you know, I like to merge, bring the heritage, you know.
It's like your project you do, the Harlem Kingston Express. If you ever get a chance to hear that group, they'll be steeped in some serious reggae, and the next beat, the next second, they're swinging. And it's perfect because they're actually, when you perform like that with those rhythms showing them going into one another so smoothly, that really shows you the importance of Mother Africa through all of the music, through reggae, through jazz, samba, bossa nova. That African influence is there throughout all of it. You know?
Well, that was always, with rare exception, the camaraderie that would develop almost immediately between the American-born guys and the Jamaican guys. Because normally they'd have no interaction with one another, you know, other than, hey, how you doing? But there I am with this band with a whole lot of guys playing, where I had 2 drummers, 2 bass players, and they were all happy to meet each other, and they'd walk away like made new friends. I had Obed Calvert playing with me, and he met Carl Wright. Those guys keep calling each other to this day. Friendship, you know? And we would be playing, and the music would be so uplifting for everybody that it was a cathartic time, you know. So it was I woke up one morning and said, I want to bring Jamaica to jazz and all that. And I did it with the people, not just write the charts and all that. No, it was the humanity. And I'm very proud of that. It really was.
Wow, that's incredible. And it's some serendipity plays a part here for me because I remember being in the south of France about 8 years ago, and my wife and I, we went to a Italian restaurant, and we were sitting there, and we started talking, and the couple next to us heard us speak English, so they started speaking English, and they would say, "Oh, you from the States?" Oh, and the guy was telling me, we'd love to invite you and your wife for aperitif at our condo right across the street. This is in Menton, France. And this gentleman was a music fanatic. He had the top of the line LP player. I'm talking about his whole hookup cost probably 40 grand. I mean, he had these Wilson speakers, he said cost 10 grand, and just incredible. And he said, you got to hear some of this music on this player. And the very first album, he took out an LP. It was Monty Alexander at Montreux from 1974 or 76. And I was like, and so I'm sitting there, and I can't explain to you the sound. I thought I was on the bandstand in the middle of Monty's trio. That's how the sound was so incredible around me. And I believe you had John Clayton on the bass, and was Jeff Hamilton on drums? Yeah, it's just incredible.
It goes back to when I met Ray Brown, and we started playing music, and we just started laughing and being happy, playing music together. Ray would when he get happy on the bass, he'd go, yeah, woo, woo, he'd making all them sounds, and with two kids in the candy store, me and this outstanding musician, but wonderful, warm-hearted guy, you know. But he saw me playing with these groups, and they were all seniors to me. I had the honor of having one of my great inspirational people about life, Eugene Wright, Senator Eugene, we call him. He played with Dave Brubeck for 10 years. He was the one man of color in Dave Brubeck's band. It was Eugene Wright. And I had him, I had Bobby Durham from Philadelphia, and we were swinging like killers. It was terrible, I mean, awesome, you know. But Ray said, man, you should get some younger guys, play with some younger cats. And what do I want to do that for, man? I want to be with my elders, the people that know more than me. The young guys, they're okay, but I want those people. Anyhow, he convinced me to meet his young student that went to UCLA to take a lesson, who was John Clayton. Wow. So one night I'm playing at Shelley's Manhole in LA with Ray, Milt Jackson, Teddy Edwards, and Dick Burke was on the drums, and we made a record. In fact, it's not one of those records that seem to really have made a dent. Christian McBride came to me and said, man, I started to play jazz because I heard that record, because it's swinging. It hurt your feelings. It's swinging so hard, you know? And what was I saying?
About John Clayton.
Yeah. So one night, no, not 69, when we went to play that Shelley's Manhole, which was like kind of like the Village Vanguard, it was a real club with music, you know. I went back in 70, and a man with the Crusaders, Stix Hooper, he was drumming, and I'm playing, and that's when John Clayton came in there one night. He's a skinny guy with a big afro, and he's sitting there like, and he said, you should meet this fellow. And I went over and I met him, and I said, hell, I'm real nice, you know. His mother played organ in church, you know, and he one of many brothers. He had siblings. So he was serious now. Ray Brown became his hero, his idol, you know. And I just said, kind of out of respect for Ray, I say, you want to meet me on Sunday here, and nobody's here on Sunday afternoon, we can play a few tunes. And oh, the drummer was this guy who just passed about last year, 2 years ago, Duffy Jackson. Oh, right. Talented as they come. You get excited, you play swinging. So Duffy and John, and we start We have a little session, play a couple tunes, just so I could feel it, you know. But man, I'm playing with Ray Brown every night. Ray Brown come with big stick. He's not coming with no, you know. So here's up and coming, young, talented. But I kept hearing Ray in my ear, you know. So I didn't really walk away saying this will be a good future thing, because I'm loving all the guys. I'm playing with George DeVivier, Major Holly, Jamil Nasser, Bob Cranshaw, Andy Simpkins, and a bass. For me, bass is where the stuff is. It starts at the bottom. The bass player plays that low note that make you want to play the other note, you know. So he stayed in touch with me. I said, you want to give me a number? And he said, yeah, okay. And he went to Indiana University. Maybe Ray advised him to get his classical chops. Right? So while he's at Indiana University, this is 1970, 71, 72, 73, he would send me cassette tapes of his recitals, playing classical, sound beautiful. You know, well, man, you hear that bowing. You don't hear a lot of, in the early days, you know, you'd hear Paul Chambers every now and then play with the bow. So he'd play with the bow, and man, it sounded like a cello. Beautiful, beautiful. Anyway, we keep a friendship up. And this was all, I call it serendipity or divine providence. I had a bass player from Philadelphia, Benny Nelson. He had an injury to his eye, and he couldn't make a gig in Annapolis, Maryland. And that was the exact moment that John called me. Yes, that's coming from on high,
the creator,
right?
yeah.
The creator. So he, I've been calling looking for a bass player because Benny couldn't make the job. And I said, what you doing next week? He said, well, I'm going to go back to LA, or I can't remember exactly. I said, can you come play with me? And I just jumped on it. But I didn't have any raw evidence that it would be a good thing, because I only want to play with the older guys. Right. And he came to Annapolis, had a beautiful bass, and Louis Hayes was playing drums with me. That first week, Lou was playing drums. I forgot about that. Wow. And we just saw him 2 nights ago. I went to see him at Dizzy's. Brother Lou, he's in his mid-80s now. Man, I never forget when I met Louis with Cannonball back in '61 in Miami. And those guys befriended me, you know. Sam Jones became a dear friend, you know. So the second week now, I'm saying, man, I gotta find a drummer. I don't know what the drummer. He says, you remember my friend Jeff? I said, yeah, okay. He said, you should try him out. Oh, right. Called Jeff. Jeff was available. Jeff came. And that was the beginning of what was a really rich, meaningful time. Because every time I sat down and played the piano, I was playing so much piano, it was like 3 people playing the piano. A whole lot of music was coming out of me. And you know, that stuff is from above. It's not me. Come through me. And the combination of those 2 men at that time, and I had never opened up my eyes to say, wait a minute, that music is not just coming from the older guys. These guys had that desire. And we started playing, and little by little, I could guess if I was in the audience, they would have seen 3 guys and a beautiful bowl of friendship and love for this thing, this music, and this thing called swinging. And John with that beautiful tone on the bass, and Jeff and him, because they had a brotherhood friendship, you couldn't beat it. The guys made a pact in school, like they said, Jeff, John, we're going to be friends forever. And to this day, 50 years later, those guys have that relationship. They have a big band. But the one little thing that happened, Jeff had his eye on being his own band leader, because he's incredible. He's coming from that tradition of Buddy Rich, Sonny Payne, Louis Bellson. When they play drums, they have their whole world of music. And when he played with me, I wanted to be swinging, but every now and then I got to drop in what I call one of my coconut songs. So I want to play coconut music now. And about that time I see Jeff, he go back in the drum seat. That's his slight mouth turn up. Wicked, mean, he's swinging, playing that music with me, but after a while I could see Jeff wanted to just all the way keep the swinging thing, you know? And I remember I felt like maybe this is not going to be the perfect thing forever, because, you know, I wanted to reflect on my heritage, you know. Jamaica has its very special thing, you know. So we would, after 2.5 years, we dispersed. John stayed in Holland, married a nice woman there. I remember the night they met, the mother of young Gerald.
Gerald, yeah.
Wonderful, talented kid. And he played in the symphony in Amsterdam.
Nice.
And then he ended up going with the Basie band, played with Basie. And latter days when Basie, just before he passed. And we would have these reunions every now and then. Now by that time, Jeff got his own trio. He's doing his thing. He got that in his head. He's strong with his, go get your band and do your thing. John, I remember he started taking lessons to orchestrate, to arrange. Now, John, I got to give it up for that brother, man. Not only was he consummate bassist and come with the joy of
great
the music,
arranger.
he went and did his homework. I remember he and I and Ed Thigpen on the train from Amsterdam to Rome, and he had a terrible cold, but the music, we had to sleep on the train, and he had the music paper all over the bed, writing. And John started arranging, and I don't know if you ever heard that unforgettable moment when Whitney Houston sang the Star Spangled Banner, and the plane,
Super Bowl.
the Super Bowl, and the plane flying above, and about that time you hear, ba-da-dee-dee-dee-dee, and the chords and the harmony. So wait a minute, that's not that original way of doing that. It was John Clayton's arrangement. And he put that thing on the map. Those people never really appreciate, I don't think they gave him the proper appreciation for that incredible moment. But then he started doing arrangements for name it, all these different, Nina Simone, he did a record with Nina Simone. What's my lady there?
Plus he's a big band too, the Clayton Hamilton.
Oh, and they have a big band. So John's dream came true. And the big influence for both of them was Thad and Mel, Thad Jones, Mel Lewis. You could, because Mel Lewis was a big influence.
Exactly.
So they've just done so remarkably well. But people keep asking, when are you guys going to play together? Like it's like the Beatles going to get together or something.
Right.
But meanwhile, they're fixed on what they do, and I got fixed on what I do. So who knows? But John is just a wonderful man, and to see him thrive. And
in case some of you are not familiar with John Clayton, he comes from a musical family. His son is Gerald Clayton, he's a Blue Note recording artist on piano. And as you mentioned, now he had also a brother who passed away, Jeff Clayton. Jeff, I had a chance to meet. In fact, Jeff was very close with another saxophonist, Craig Bailey, who was renting an apartment in my brownstone in Brooklyn back in the 90s. So one day I'm downstairs practicing, and I hear another saxophone upstairs practicing. I said, wait. So it was Jeff, So
wonderful.
But Monty, if you have an opportunity, I recommend it highly to hear his trio now, the current trio that he's with Jason Brown and Luke Selick. I went to Birdland a few months ago, man, and I was just knocked out because when you have three musicians that play as one, and I think I told that to Monty, these guys, they play as one band, one musician. The nuances, the dynamics, the inflections, the way they change keys, the way the rhythms, it was just mind-boggling. And I said to Monty's wife, Katerina, I said, man, what does he do if he can't get these guys for a gig? And she said he plays solo, which I can understand because they are on such a high level. A few years ago, in fact, Monty did a recording called Warwick Hill. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about playing the music of Thelonious Monk.
Well, it was before the COVID, right? I decided to do one more time, merging the heritage with the great legacy of what Ahmed called American classical music. Some guys don't want to hear the word jazz. It's a great name for great things that happen, but jazz was originally a negative word, And Ahmed said American classical music is on the same level as Beethoven and Bach and Brahms. It's Duke Ellington, George Gershwin came in America. So I'm going to lose my point. What was I saying?
Talking about Monk, Warwick Hill.
So I always appreciated Monk, who I saw play at the 5 spot. I once rode in an elevator in a building in New York. I knew somebody lived on the 20th floor of near West End Avenue, and Monk lived down the hall. And you go up on to that apartment at 2 in the morning maybe, and you'd hear all kind of racket coming from Monk's apartment, banging the drums and everything. But Thelonious got in the elevator with me one time. He says, "Don't do this music." But he was a very unusual person, you know? And he wouldn't say much, and I'm standing at the elevator, and Monk is standing right there, and I said, And he said, He said, he gets in on the 22nd floor, and I'm standing next to Monk, and he's right there, and he see the button from 20 going up, it was like 30 floors, and going down to the lobby. And Monk say, he's standing there, he's looking at the buttons, and he say, 2 and 3 is 5. We went to the 5th floor, went to the 3rd floor, went to the 2nd floor, and finally got to the lobby. I got out on the lobby, and Monk stayed in the elevator and say something like, 4 and 5 is 9. Monk was playing calculator because he was on a different level. This man was coming from a different place. Well, I loved all those songs, but I always sensed in some of them a rhythmic flavor that it was island-like. And I said, wait a minute. He's from Rocky Mountain, North Carolina, and he came to New York, but he grew up with all the West Indians in San Juan Hill, where Avery Fisher Hall is now. There were all the West Indians, among others. It was a challenge, a poor area, low rents. But a lot of West Indians, so he must have been hearing the record player playing Trinidadian calypso, Jamaican, what have you. So some of those tunes, like Baya, was written by Denzel Best, who was from Barbados. Wow. So I decided to make this record merging Thelonious with Jamaican rhythms. And Warwick Hill was right near where my folks had our home, near to the hill where the Rasta guys would go up the hill to do their praise and worship and burn the firewood and smoke the ganja. Right. And I'd hear those drum rhythms, you know. And I said, I'm going to make a record where I bring Monk to the Rasta man. Because in my mind, Monk was a Rasta. Somehow, in my feeling, something about that. So, anyhow, that's Warwick Hill.
Wow. Please, y'all give it up for Monty Alexander, y'all. I don't know, we have a couple of minutes. I don't know if you wanted to do a Q&A. If somebody has a question you want to ask Monty, well, please. Oh, I have one question because we were talking about those clubs in Newark. Now, I remember some clubs, but I think they're not in Newark. The Peppermint Lounge, that's Newark? Yeah. Okay, and LC's. I think that was in East Orange. But if you have a question, please come up and you can ask the Master Monty. I'm sure he'll give you a very concise answer. Anybody have questions you want to ask Monty before we wrap it up? If you know, I don't know if you guys applaud really, really loud and scream really loud. Maybe he might play one scale for you on the piano.
You know, Muhammad Ali would say, you know, I like your show and I like your style, but the pay is so low, I will not be back for a while. I didn't say that, but by the way, these people here have treated me so kindly that I don't even want to accept the little
Please
payment.
give it up for the great Monty Alexander, y'all. One and only. We are truly blessed to have this gentleman with us and to have him in our midst. And if you have an opportunity, please check him out. Monty Alexander.
And TK Blue. I have to say, well, I'm going to take the privilege and say, well, I have one thing that I have to add. Mr. Alexander, the honor is ours. Thank you. And whatever this thing about not reading music out, y'all need to know this. Jazz heads know this. Most of us around my vintage got hip to Monty Alexander when he was on the Pablo record label. Norman Grant started it. Now, Norman Grant started it for some of our aging masters who were still at the top of their game, but the major labels hadn't signed. And it included Oscar Peterson, Ray Brown, Dizzy Gillespie. John Faddis made his debut on a Dizzy Gillespie record. He was like 18 or 19. And Ray Brown, who was a virtuoso bassist and notoriously difficult, hard on cats. He only played with a couple of pianists by choice. Oscar Peterson was his first choice. This young man right here. So I don't know, read music, whatever. You are one of our virtuosos and one of our masters. Thank you. And I'm doing a bad job telling the story because Ray Brown, Milk Jackson was another one. Milk Jackson did not, these older cats, they didn't like it if you didn't swing. They didn't like it if you couldn't play in every key. They didn't like it if you didn't know. I heard Ray Brown say something like, once you play the song once, you ought to have it memorized. Why are you looking at the music? You need to be reacting. You need to be displaying empathy and connection to the other human beings you're on the stage with. So I'm sorry I had to preach a little bit, y'all, because anyway, Monty Alexander is good. And a special hand for our moderator, our interlocutor, Mr. TK Blue. He's coming back. We got a new album coming. He's coming back next year. And I think February we're going to have him back in here whenever he's off the road. Thank you all so very much for coming out. There's water behind the bar if y'all need to get home. Don't forget to say special thanks to Yard Grill Entertainment.
Oh yeah, we want to mention also is something very exciting, as Monty mentioned, next year, June 6, 2024, he's going to be 80 years old. And they're planning something very special in Europe because that's the 50 years of the D-Day. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
First of all, I'm just glad to be here, but even more than that, I'm glad to be anywhere. And yes, I'm here, have had a wonderful run. Hopefully I can stick around for a while if the boss says stick around. I'll be 80 in next year, June the 6th. So I was just in Paris, a place where this man spent some good time, and I made an album, and the idea to the album was to commemorate a very great day in history when the Allies pushed back the German enemy, Nazis, and that was at Normandy, June the 6th, D-Day, 1944. That's the very day I was born, hence my name, Montgomery, who was a great general, British general, when Eisenhower and Charles de Gaulle fought back the Germans. So the album is commemorating those two things, my birthday and that. So the album I did is music that reflects that experience. Some of the songs of that time that were popular as well as original. So that will give cause also for a tour in France where I go frequently. I just came from Paris last week, and my next booking is in my living room, I think. Oh, sounds terrible to say this at a time like this, but I actually brought some of my Warwick Hill, the Thelonious record I did. So we have it here, and that's my wife over there from Rome, Italy, and she might do justice by, that was a commercial, you know. And you'll sign them, right? Maybe I'll go sign the thing, man. Just give me one of them Sharpie pen. Yes, folks. That's about it, I guess. TK, I really appreciated your vibrations. Thank you very much.